when we got there, there was only a handful of people, and then the speaker didn't show up for 1 hour. So they had testimonies and songs and testimonies and songs.
Okay.
And then finally at 9 o'clock he appeared.
Okay, well, Upsall, he was a Republican man. He was a strong Republican.
What else?
He backed,
Dewey?
no, yeah, well, I guess he backed him too, but he backed Herbert Hoover.
Who but Hoover?
Herbert Hoover.
But during the election they said
Yeah,
who
I remember
but
a lot of
Hoover.
things. He always talked about McKinley. McKinley had a wig, I think. They used to sing his curls, made of bird's nest.
Well,
When you think of it, he, came over as a boy of 15 and then to be interested in...
Well, one time he went to Washington. Tell about that.
Oh yeah, he was invited to Washington. He was the Small Businessmen's Association. And that was after the war. They wanted to get things rolling again. So that was a big highlight in our family life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He drove down in this Plymouth to Washington.
Yeah.
Well, now,
They were legalistic. We weren't permitted to
let's see, no
have
smoking,
nail polish, no smoking, no drinking,
cards,
no cards,
no
no
movies.
dancing, right?
no movies.
No necking.
Well, we were allowed to see the first movie I saw. I was 15. It was called King of Kings, and we saw that in the Newark Gospel Tabernacle.
Yeah, but not in a movie theater.
No.
Do you suppose that in his whole life he never went into a movie theater once?
This religion?
Well, he had seen a couple, and he knew what they were like. They were all bad, full of sin.
You ought to see them today.
Yeah,
I know.
but not as strict.
I remember him telling me he used to go into a tavern once in a while and you get a good sandwich, eat lunch there. You don't have to drink.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Gabriel Upsall.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, he probably did.
So,
He smoked an occasional cigarette,
All gold.
but I
Now-
don't think he didn't smoke in the house. He went outside.
now from 1956, when Grandma passed away, till 1960 when he sold the farm, he lived alone up there. And then he
Right.
would come to town occasionally, and then we'd go up there, I guess, on certain weekends, and
Right.
then I guess maybe he was lost up there without her, being by himself.
Well, he was peeved toward the end when he got ornery, and he said we should each be willing to take turns. Every third Sunday go up there. But we couldn't do it. Our children were in the age when they had all these special things in church and at school, and our own home had to be maintained. He was working overtime, maybe.
Alice went up.
Alice went up a lot, yes, because well, we mustn't say this part. Can you wipe that out?
How many miles? It seemed to me it was a long drive from
Yeah.
West
50
Orange.
miles. 50 miles.
50 miles. But those days they
How long of a drive from Mendham then? Was Alice in Mendham at that point? How many miles would it be for
Is that
Alice
on now?
to travel?
In case Alice...
Okay, we're back. Now, what trips did you go to Norway
We can turn
on?
it off in just a minute.
Years you've been to Norway? You said 1928, and we know 1952, and 82, 83, and 85.
That's right.
And that was it?
That's right. It's 5 times.
So from 1928, you didn't go until 52.
No, we
You're
had a
not
busy
being
life right here.
responsible, so-
There
So-
wasn't that emphasis on Norway. If anything, we wanted to get away from it. Everything was pro-English in the church and so on.
And your relatives never came over. I'm sorry, the ones that were here went back and forth.
Yeah,
But the
well,
ones that never emigrated basically stayed in Norway.
that's right. But the cousins who, were helped during the Depression, they went over there and stayed, and had families and so on.
Also, what are some of the highlights, would you say, looking back?
The highlights? Well, I
The
think...
trip to Norway in 1928,
Yeah, but
getting married.
I think the highlights are the arrival of my 4 children, and especially so with Margie and Marilyn when we were in our mid-40s.
And the arrival of your
Because,
grandchildren?
And,
Because you could afford it better, or you were more mature in your age, or
Huh?
I tell you, you really didn't have time to think. People used to ask me what it was like, and I said it was getting into a barrel and rolling over the Niagara. There was no return.
now these 2 girls were more or less accidents, or not planned, I guess. But you
No,
don't.
they were Allerdommen's Trust, isn't that the Norwegian?
What's that? Welcome surprises.
No, the
Pleasant surprise?
the benefits of old age, something like that. Trust. Reward, the reward of old age, you know. And the fact that we've been kept well in spite of different illnesses and so on. And then the arrival of each of the grandchildren.
Yeah,
And then also you've been fairly comfortable. I think that's, you know, careful with your money. And
Yeah, well, we've done it through discipline.
have you felt many times that you'd like to buy things, but you know, try to deny yourself just to have?
Oh, before, but not now. Now I don't have the urge.
Well,
My urge would be to have a house on one floor, but somebody doesn't like to hear about that. And then my urge would also be to have my family around me, my desire. But that isn't to be, so you have to accept. Remember the report you did, Paul, in 9th grade? Advent, aptitude, and adaptation.
well, that was probably reporting on the pastor's sermon. I don't think I came up with that title, or you came up
I
with
think you got help from me.
most of
But
it.
it was grade 9, and one of the things you said in it was that being in oil or whatever your field was, you were going to travel. You know, it was often the life of a nomad.
Well,
N-O-M-A-D.
that was in geophysics.
Well, anyhow, it was a grand report, and you got to A on it. No, you had to write the story of your life. And so I gave you the title. But anyhow, the same title applies to all of us. You know, your advent, what you were born into, your aptitudes, what your gifts are, and then your adaptation, how you fitted yourself into all three areas. You know, mixed with your family and your friends.
Well, nowadays, going off to different